Welcome back to another episode of Archie Sonic Character Files as we explore the histories of the inhabitants on planet Mobius. In this episode, we take a look at the history of a freedom fighter's worst nightmare, and that is Roboticized Sonic. While we never got to see Sonic become a mindless robot serving Robotnik in Sonic Sat AM or Sonic Underground, Archie Sonic gave us some examples on what could happen with that idea. That's right, in Archie Sonic, the Blue Speedster has been roboticized more than once, and we're going to be looking at all the different models. It might seem weird to do an episode dedicated to a chunk of Sonic's history from Archie Sonic, but I just figured this would be a fun episode to do. That, and it's still gonna be a while until I decide to cover Archie Sonic's very, very lengthy history in the comics. The first time we'd see a roboticized Sonic would be in issue 39, followed up by Sonic and Knuckles' Mecha Madness. Sonic tries to convince Sally and the others at a meeting to let him go to Robotropolis to get roboticized, while being equipped with one of Rotor's Neuro Overriders to maintain his free will and take down Robotnik instantly. But this request is denied by Sally, with Rotor adding that they don't want to go through another incident with the Overriders, like what happened last time when they almost lost Sally to Robotnik. Annoyed by all this, Sonic heads off to the training facility to relieve some stress, only to be knocked out by the bounty hunter, Knock the Weasel, who proceeds to drag the hedgehog to Dr. Robotnik for a reward. At Robotropolis, the evil doctor wastes no time in turning the heroic freedom fighter into a killer robot, now dubbing him as Mecha Sonic. After watching a demonstration of his abilities, he sends the metallic hedgehog to destroy Knothole Village. The freedom fighters tried their best to fight off their former friend the best way they could. They had Bunny Rabot fight off Mecha Sonic for a while, but even a half-roboticized Mobian couldn't defeat him. Then they contacted Knuckles the Echidna for some help, but he was soon taken care of. With their best fighters knocked out, and Mecha Sonic beginning his destruction of Knothole, Sally is left with no other choice but to use Operation Last Resort. Rotor pulls out an old roboticizer model that he was experimenting on, the same one that had turned Bunny Rabot's limbs into metal. With the machine fired up and a Neuro Overrider standing by, Knuckles volunteers himself to go through the process to become Mecha Knuckles. Now powered up and maintaining his free will, he begins round 2 against Mecha Sonic. The two rivals are equally matched, and it looks like Mecha Sonic was going to win by throwing Mecha Knuckles into the heart of Robotropolis, but the mechanical Echidna had one more trick up his sleeve and creates a magnetic field to drag Mecha Sonic with him, and thus they both crash into the facility with a tremendous explosion. As the dust settles, Mecha Sonic is still there. Robotnik begins to gloat about his skills, until Mecha Knuckles knocks him out. Turns out they both survived due to Mecha Sonic suddenly taking most of the blast unselfishly when they were heading towards Robotropolis. But now he's severely damaged and at the point of being scrap metal. While Mecha Knuckles was able to be restored by the portable roboticizer, the same couldn't be said for Sonic as he was turned into a robot with Robotnik's newer roboticizer models. Nicole discovers that Sonic has a special aura hidden inside him that was caused by his special 1/1000th ring, and after pleading with Sally to save his life, the AI is hooked up into Mecha Sonic, and by tapping into that aura, Sonic is restored back to normal, having no memory of the whole battle. All might seem well, but Sonic is quickly arrested, believing that he had disobeyed their orders about getting roboticized. But knowing Sonic, he'd soon find a way to clear his name. The next time we'd see Sonic get the roboticized treatment would be in issue 118. Around this time, the second Robotnik's second form was destroyed by a nuclear attack from Station Square, and after doing some body hopping for a while, he and Snively now have new robot bodies and are ready to fight off Sonic and the Freedom Fighters. But suddenly, Sonic, Tails, Robotnik, and Snively are teleported onto a spaceship where they find themselves as test subjects for the alien race known as BEM. They want to experiment on metal material versus organic material. Using their technology, they turn Sonic and Tails into robots, along with making Robotnik and Snively human again. Unlike last time, Sonic was able to maintain his free will and not become a mindless machine. The BEMs state that the winners will be returned to normal, while the losers will be trapped forever in their new forms. After a short battle in a virtual recreation of Robotropolis, Sonic and Tails are victorious, they're restored back to normal, and they're all teleported back to Mobius. This was the end of Sonic being turned into a machine in Archie Sonic's old canon. We did get a glimpse of a possible third time that Sonic would be roboticized in the Worlds Collide crossover, but this only shows up in a dream scene when Robotnik is talking about using the Super Genesis Wave to make sure that the changes to the reality in his world are permanent this time. As for the new continuity, the only time we'd see Sonic become a robot would be in the Worlds Unite crossover. Sigma, from the Mega Man X universe, captures Dr. Robotnik and Dr. Wily, and forces them to work for him on his big evil scheme to control the Genesis portals and conquer the multiverse. First, Sonic and Mega Man are captured by the Deadly Six, now under the control of Sigma. Second, Robotnik and Wily work together to turn the heroes into evil robots. And third, they secretly scheme behind Sigma's back by programming them to carry out Sigma's mission of activating the Unity engines on their worlds to become one. But are unaware of each other's existence, and once they were back to normal on Sigma's base, they'd fight the robot overlord while the doctors carry out his plan for themselves. Now Mega Man is attacking the freedom fighters in Mobotropolis, while Sonic Man is causing havoc in Mega City. He had his hands full for a while in fighting off reformed robot masters like Guts Man and Ice Man, and later dealing with other robots like Shadow Man, Quake Woman, and Break Man. In the end, they all stood no chance against Sonic Man, and with the Unity engines activated, Sonic and Mega Man's worlds are becoming one. He and Mega Man then begin to fight each other as the worlds fuse together. With a blast of each other's laser cannons, they were reverted back to normal. It may not have gone as planned for the doctors, who wanted them to be normal after teleporting back to Sigma's base to deal with him, but that didn't stop Sonic and Mega Man from joining forces once again to save their worlds. And that concludes all of the times that Sonic has been roboticized in the Archie Sonic universe. With the first model, they definitely took some interesting design choices for this thing. For the most part, it looks cool, but then you've also got the weird looking arms. I guess Robotnik just had Popeye on his mind when roboticizing him. When Sonic got roboticized, he was already equipped with gadgets and his previous abilities upgraded to the max. Very different compared to the second Robotnik, who had to manually upgrade Sally when she got roboticized again. Still, this Mecha Sonic is really powerful from all the abilities he was able to show off. And out of all the four designs, he's definitely my favorite one. There are also interesting moments where Sonic is struggling to maintain his free will, like in the scene when he's struggling to stop himself from shooting Tails, or near the end where he's severely damaged and saying that he shouldn't be saved, being full of guilt that this would happen. Yeah, that's some pretty heavy stuff there. While I enjoy this story, it's not perfect. It is rather interesting that this 3-part story was written by Mike Gallagher, the guy known for writing Archie Sonic to be more lighthearted. In part 1, he does try to make the situation serious, but there will occasionally be some cheesy moments thrown in there, like Robotnik reading the script in one panel, Sally reminding Tails to brush his teeth, or that one very controversial quote from Bunny talking about an old saying that her uncle used to say. Well, it was the late 90s when this issue came out, so I guess they were able to get away with it back then, but nowadays, no dice. Part 2 is when things get really good with the robot fights, and it's the strongest part of the story, while Part 3 is more the weakest one. Still, I recommend checking out this story. In my opinion, it's one of the good ones. I don't have much to say about the second time in issue 118. It's pretty much the same design, except now it's painted silver. Kind of reminds me of some of those solid color figures that Jazzwares used to make, like Blue Sonic and Purple Espio. It has some of the abilities like before, but it's neat to see Sonic act normal. Although it does raise the question on the BEM's tactics. If they wanted to test metallic versus organic material to see which one is stronger, then why change their looks? Why not just leave them the way they are to do the test? I guess this was just more of an excuse to drop the whole Robotnik's robot body thing, and permanently make him human to meet the demands from Sega. Even so, this story would plant the seeds for gifting the Mobians immunity to robotization. At least until the Genesis wave erased it all. And then there's the third form that I have even less things to say about because this one never became a reality. And that's a shame. The design is cool, a nice streamlined look for roboticized Sonic. But alas, all I can say about this thing is just, hey, it's Shape the Character. I like Shape the Character. And then there's Sonic Man, which also has a nice design. Well, since they roboticized most of Sonic's friends in the first story, I guess it was fair that it would be Sonic's turn for this second crossover. His vocabulary this time is less robotic than the first one, but this version is also the most overpowered one, with how easily he was able to defeat all those robot masters. Yeah, Worlds Unite might have been cool on paper, but it's a very bloated crossover with a lot of scenes going by too fast. Especially with how they reverted back to their normal selves by just going all, I'm a firing my laser! I don't know, in some ways that's kinda cheap. Well, at least his abilities look cool. Now all we need is Sonic Man versus Sonic Man versus Sonic Man. Make it happen, Death Battle. Well, that takes care of this character file, so until then, I got juice!